Hi, this is David again. I wanted to do a video a little bit on my education and life experience. You've seen on my other tapes, if you're interested, go look, that I have a master's degree from Northeastern State and 28 credits at another university postgraduate and 14 kids. And I'm 64 years old. And I'd kind of like to use my education in human services, my education in anatomy and all the other classes that I've taken, and commingle it with my own personal experience. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a licensed psychologist. I've done a lot of counseling with young people and some adults, and I don't hold myself out as some kind of a sexual expert. But I do hold myself out as a sexual expert in psychological trauma and psychological self-esteem related to sexuality. That I know a lot about. There's other sections of sexuality I don't. And I just wanted to try to put people as much at ease as I can. It's taken me in the Mormon cult from 50 years of feeling embarrassment about my body and talking about sexual things. It's been a nightmare living in the Mormon church with their sexual repression. But let's leave that on other videos, and let me go forward on this one here. My beginning where I'd like to talk on sexuality is at a young age. There are many 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds that discover their bodies. That's normal. I do have a minor in child development and family relationships, so I have some background. Many times it's the little boys because they get erections and their genitalia stick out of their body, and the girls is kind of hidden, so they don't experiment or learn quite as quickly that they're a sexual being. And again, around 5 years old, you'll get a lot of little boys and girls playing together, and they'll want to play doctor as an excuse to look. They're very curious because now they realize at 5, 6 years old there's a difference between males and females, and they're not quite sure why they don't have the other organ. And many times the boys will tease the girls and say, "Oh, look, your penis fell off," and that doesn't start girls off on a real positive self-esteem journey on how they feel about their bodies. Then you get into the ages of 7, 8, 9. They basically then begin to pick up that dad and mom do something strange, and they hear noises sometimes in the bedroom, and it's usually dad that yells, "Quit knocking on the door." They become aware that something in the world is going on that they're not privy to. And they, of course, will have curiosity. They'll peek through the curtains or look through the window or under the door. Those are all normal things for a child. They're now taking a bath by themselves at those ages, up to 5 years old. There's many times that parents will bathe with the children, and in our society that's totally acceptable. And even with babies, showering with a 3 or 4 month old, mom can hand the baby in and you can put it under the shower, and you know, it's a 30-second job. As they start to get right up around 10, 11, the boys now are really starting to feel some sexuality. You'll have boys at those ages masturbating, touching their penis, feeling it. My understanding, and again, I'm not the sexual expert, I'm just a sexual expert on psychological impact, that most of the time at those ages the little boys won't ejaculate, but they'll certainly rub their penises, and you will get some girls, not a lot, but you'll get some girls that will, you know, rub up and down on a swing or a pole or something, and and they're coming into a beginning sexuality too. Now, where you really start to get into the sexuality, and nowadays it's much younger than it used to be. I know some older women and other people, women, that don't start their period when they were young until they were 16. I have a 10-year-old that started her period, and there's many other parents that are seeing early development of these 10-year-olds and 11-year-old boys and girls. You'll get right at about 10, 6th grade, 6.5 grade, the girls will start budding, their little breasts will start to stick out a little bit, and mom or grandma will go and say, hey, you know, you need to get a training bra. Girls don't let their breast hang out. And you'll see, you know, those girls starting to develop. And you will see some of those 5th and 6th grade girls having their periods. Now, a lot of people don't understand, and there's a lot of misnomers, because in our society we're hung up. We are hung up on sex. And we don't talk about it, we don't think about it, we don't talk to our kids about it, and if you want to know something, you go on a porn site. I prefer to talk to my kids, boys and girls, that this is the way life is, and I can't change it, and you can't either. So a lot of those girls will start to menstruate right there at about 10 or 11. And you have the mom pretty much taking the main control of trying to give the daughter some information. Mom may be 50 years, or well, she wouldn't be that old. Might be 40 or 30 years behind the times. And mom has her own way of handling her period, and basically she's going to have that information, and the child doesn't have a lot of choices. And she kind of follows mom. And of course, in most families, now not in mine, and I'm sure there's many others that don't have this, this stigma, my girls don't think anything of having a period, and they don't think anything of walking up to me and say, Dad, I'm a little moody, I'm in my period, do I have to do that? I go, well, it's not a good excuse, but it's part of an excuse. So, depends on the relationship you develop with your children. Is sex a naughty and a dirty thing, or is sex something that is natural? Everybody has a penis or a vagina. Some people have one and the other together. Look that up in your medical books. I prefer to have the kids be open and me to be open. And you have opportunities to teach these kinds of things at key moments. The kids do watch TV. They're very savvy on their iPods and computers, and they know pretty much what's going on in the world, but they don't dare ask anybody. When someone says, oh, she's a lesbian, your girls and most girls are not going to say, gee, Dad, what's a lesbian? And I just say it's two girls that like to have sex with each other. That's the end of the comment, and my girls can evaluate that the way they want. And homosexuality and bestiality, you may not get those kinds of weird questions from young people. But you do get a beginning of sexuality, and it's so important. And I'm telling you, as an educated psychological person, that the way you treat those kids when they're 10, 11, and 12, that'll be there most of their life. And if you think sex is dirty or nasty, or you're constantly joking, now of course you can joke now and then, but the sexual relationship, information exchange between you and your children, and the teaching of sex, I think is a very important part of parenthood. I may be a minority, I don't know. But if you're comfortable with your body, and most Americans aren't, most women are embarrassed, and most men are basically embarrassed about being naked or having sex or whatever, or feel guilty, or someone's watching, or there's a lot of hang-ups in the American culture about sexuality. Don't pass it on to our children. Get our own heads squared away and straight. Who am I? What do I like? What is my sexual background? And how do I want my children to feel about their bodies and themselves, and relationships that they enter into that are going to be sexual the rest of their lives? So it's a key pivotal point in a child's life as they start to develop. Now, then you have the little things that come up, and again, in our family, we're just very open. We're just very open. My mother was open, even back when I was born years ago. When they start to develop, you'll have the boys basically getting a little bit of beard or a little bit of hair under their arms or on their genitals. That's normal. They have to be told that. Say, hey, that's going to happen, man. It's the way Dad is. It's the way moms are. Everybody has that hair growth. Most of the girls don't get beards. Some do. But I explain that it's hormonal. They can't speed up their, they can try to do exercises and make their boobs big. That's about as useless as anything else you can do to try to get into your sexuality quicker. You can't. It's all hormonally triggered. And nutrition has a lot to do with it. Vitamins, exercise, eating right, weight. A lot of those things have to do with childhood development into sexuality. You will have to, as I have had to, tell my girls, you need to shave under your arms. And in our society, not all societies, but the girls in America basically shave their legs. And I have said to my girls, and usually Mom is right there, so that it's a team kind of an effort, that the girls in the United States now, not before, but now basically will shave their vaginas too. That basically that's the modern thing to do. And I've told my girls, you want to do that? That's private. You do whatever you want to do. Whether you do or you don't, it doesn't really matter. You do get some giggling, especially with your 6th and 7th grade, 8th grade children about, sex, and they've heard wild stories that there was a girl at school that had 92 babies and she only had sex one time. Your kids and my kids hear that all the time. And if we're not straightening that out, they're going to grow up like I did with a real skewed idea about sexuality and their sexuality. So again, I'm going back to a common theme here of communication. We have to talk, and if we can't talk to our kids about sex, that says a lot about us. That says a lot about us, that we can't say that. Now, I have, again, broken out of the Mormon cult and have come into, hopefully, some kind of normalcy in the society, and trying to stay within boundaries and learn boundaries. I am very, very strict with my girls. I still have 2 and minors, and they don't go out after dark. And they'll say to me, well, Dad, why can't I go out? And you can say, well, because I'm your dad. I just don't want you after dark. Well, they're going to climb out the window. They're going to have, escapes, and then you don't have any control. So I tell my girls the truth. I say, you know what? You have a vagina. And every boy in the world wants your vagina. And they don't care much about you at all. And if you go out after dark, there's some sick people out there, boys, men, that are going to grab you behind a tree and put their penis inside your vagina, and you might get pregnant, and you're going to be beat up and hurt. You should see the look on their face. Oh, it's like a light comes on. Oh, I'm a girl, and my sexuality is a little different than boys. I thought they had to be in love with you. I thought that they had to send you flowers and take you... No. All boys have to do is look at you and want to get your panties off. Don't go out after dark. I've told my girls the same thing about alcohol. I don't care when you're 18 or 20, married, whatever. If you want to drink alcohol, that's your own business. But let me tell you something about going through junior and high school. That if you drink, I don't care if it's 1 beer, if you drink, your panties are going to fall off. You're young, your body is not used to being alcohol driven, your judgment is not good as a teenager to start with, your hormones are all over the place, and the first guy that gets you to take a couple of drinks, you're going to be in the back seat of the car or in his bedroom, and your panties are going to be off. And I tell him the truth. That's, in many cases, you're going to enjoy that. You're a sexual person. Sex is fun. Sex is a good thing. But I also tell them about venereal diseases, STDs. And I explain gonorrhea and syphilis and the hideousness of herpes. Say, you want that on your vagina? Just go ahead and have sex with any boy you want, because you may not see it on him, but you'll have it 2 months later. Oh. You want to have a baby? You want a little baby to try to come out that little tiny vagina right now when you're not fully grown? Well, no. Said, well, you get penis in your vagina and any kind of sperm in there, there's a chance you're going to have a baby. And do you want to bring the baby to school and change it and feed it? No. Well, do you want to stay home with it and take care of your baby and now you don't have any school? Well, no. Said, well, then think. Don't open your legs up. Think. And it's not evil. It's not wicked. It's just there's a time and a place. And that is hard for American children because we make them wait till they're 18 or 20. And many of them are just driven by hormones that they just can't make that. They're sexual beings and they want sex and they're willing to give up having a baby and their schooling and the whole thing. And when I see examples of what Dad has told them, they have a cousin who's not married, who's having sex with one of the boys, and voila, she's pregnant. And voila, she's out of college. She's lost her opportunity, basically, to go to college. Now, it's not like the old days where you shipped a girl off to Louisiana or some secret place and she has a baby. Certainly, teenagers have more ability to raise a child and to nurture a child and still get an education. There are many alternatives today. But you know what? The easiest alternative is don't get pregnant. That's the easiest. You don't have any humiliation, any rumors, and your phone number's not written on the bathroom at the high school for having a good time, and rumors and ugly things being said about you. So I think we need to talk to our children. My 7th grader wanted to wear some makeup to school, and that surprised me a little bit, but I'm kind of an easy, don't let me kid you, I'm not an easy-going guy, but I'm pretty easy on letting people kind of decide for themselves. I really believe in free agency. The Mormon Church doesn't believe in any free agency. Believe me. That's a dichotomy you'll never be able to understand. I don't. But I let her wear a little makeup, and I told her, I said, you know, if you wear too much makeup, you're going to look like a hooker. And you're sending off messages to the boys that, you know, you're easy to get your panties off. Oh, I didn't know that. Of course they don't know that. If you and I as parents don't sit down with these kids and say, there's a reason you don't go out after dark. There's a reason you don't wear too much makeup. There's a reason you can be popular and wear popular clothes, but if your boobs are hanging up and your dress is up to your ass, you're sending out a message to boys. They don't care anything about you. They care about putting their penis into your vagina. If that's the message you want to send, be my guest. Well, no, I didn't know. Oh, it's like a light bulb. And that is a light bulb that I find valuable. I believe the only way we can protect our children from some terrible things happening, rape and kidnapping and other kinds of terrible, hideous crimes, is to train them. We can't be with a child 24/7. If you've got 3 or 4 kids, how are you going to go to school with 3 or 4 kids? You're not. And there will be bullies there. There will be people drinking there. There will be people offering drugs there. There will be people there that your daughters and sons are attracted to and they'd like to have sex with. I train my kids that there are some evil people in the world. And if they are there in the wrong place at the wrong time, it could happen to them. There's nothing I can do to stop it. And I'm telling you, as an educated person in human services, if a girl especially, but boys too, gets raped or molested, it never goes away. They go to the grave with those feelings and that sadness and their childhood robbed and sexual malfunction and misfunction in a relationship. So I think it's important to tell our kids all the time, I'm a sexual being, your mom's a sexual being, you're born because, you know, I put the penis over there in your mother and the sperm went in, made the egg, and you came out. Oh, And then as you get older, kids think, oh, you're old, you're not interested in sex. I said, hey, wait a minute. People are sexual right to the ends of their lives. And I tell my kids, you know, the boys are more sexual at 17, the girls are more sexual at 30. That's the peak of their sexuality. And when moms have babies, maybe they don't want to have sex. And I tell my girls, you know, how pregnancy works and the responsibility they're going to have. In some ways, I think boys are a little bit easier. They don't need quite as much information. But I don't want to downplay that they have no need for no information. But the girls have to realize how complex their feelings are, mixed with their hormones, mixed with their period, and mixed with being female, and being mixed in a world full of penises that just want nothing but to go in their vaginas. That's life. I didn't invent it. I can't stop it. I'm just telling the truth. That's life. Everyone is sexual. And when your kids hear about, you know, the drugs and oh my gosh, nowadays the girls sometimes will wear bracelets, colored bracelets on their wrist. And in some school districts, that's crude and rude. It means that they'll do oral sex or that they'll accept oral sex, and it gives sexual signs of where they are in their sexual development and what they're interested in. So you can hide your head in the sand, and you can have your, you know, 15-year-old come home pregnant from a party drunk. When I was in 7th grade, Nordhoff High School, Ojai, California, Susie, gosh, what's her name? She was in 9th grade, and we had a teacher who was the head of the debate team. So he took Susie and other kids around to debate at other school. Well, evidently, he wasn't all talk. He was part penis. And Susie got pregnant, and he divorced his wife. She had to drop out of school, and she married him, and the marriage, to my knowledge, has stayed together all of these years, and they've had a couple of kids. But my kids know you can be a teacher, a bus driver, a janitor, and it can be a father, a grandfather, a brother, a friend, a neighbor, your girlfriend's boyfriend. I've told my girls and told them no one is to touch them in any private areas except a doctor. And then when a doctor does, there's usually a nurse in the room, and they're looking for medical diagnosis. And my girls know that. And so when I send them out babysitting, I've warned them. I said, you know, you babysit, and the guy comes home drunk at 2 o'clock in the morning and drives you home, he's going to have his hands between your legs. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. You may be on some kind of a retreat or camp out or overnight situation with the school, and before you know it, you know, there's 4 boys in the tent, and all the girls think that's really funny, and they want to put a penis in you too. Remember Dad's words. You want that baby? You want those diseases? You want to lose control of your life? I can't stop it. I can't be in every tent. I can't be with every teacher in every classroom or every church class that they go to, or skating, ice skating. I mean, these kids are gone these days all the time. And they certainly have access to the internet. You don't know if they're on it, and I don't know if they're on it. They can go to the library and get on the internet. They can go over to their friend's house. You can put all the parental controls on that you want. But I don't think controls is the key. I think education is the key. When we tell our children the damn truth, and then we let them digest that and think about it, then they come to the conclusion. They come to the conclusion. My little gal came home yesterday and said, gee, Dad, you know, she's in 7th grade, a couple of the 8th graders, and they have a couple of 9th grade friends, and I'm kind of in their group. Before she ever went to 7th grade, David the prophet said that. I said, you know, you don't look like or act like a 7th grader. You're going to become attracted to the older boys and them to you. And you better be careful, because they know a little bit more about life than you do, and you can get yourself in trouble. Every child wants to be popular. Every girl wants to be the head cheerleader. Every boy wants to be the football player. When they can't do that, if someone likes them because of sex, then, well, that's better than nothing. And I told her when I dropped her off to school today, I said, now behave. I don't mind you being with 8th and 9th graders, but you'll lose your freedom the moment I see anything that goes on. She said, I know, Dad. That's all you can do. Educate, train, warn. Don't be, and this is just, again, me, if you're punitive, if you get pregnant, we will never take care of that baby, and you'll be in an orphanage. If that's the kind of parent you are, you're probably going to end up with pregnant kids. If you're punitive, you're harsh, you don't tell the truth, maybe you got a little history and background you're ashamed of, and you're going to try real hard to make sure your child doesn't act that way, and you overreact, you're going to do a disservice to the child. One of the things we know in psychology is that when a child is molested, how the close parents and the close associates of that child respond to that molestation stays with that child the rest of their life. So if you have a child that's molested, and you can sit down calmly and say, well, honey, what happened, and why did this and that, and we still love you, and everything is going to be okay, don't worry. They won't forget it, but the impact of that terrible experience will be diminished. If you throw your hands up in the air, screaming and yelling, where's my shotgun, I'm going to kill somebody, slamming doors, that kid is traumatized from that experience, and they're going to carry that the rest of their lives. We as parents can't stop every pregnancy. We can't stop every rape. But if we train, if we educate, if we tell the truth, we're going to be able to make a very strong impact on that child's life. And when they get married or when they come into relationships, they're going to be steady, they're going to be secure, and they're going to be joyful. They're not going to get married and hate marriage, or have children and hate children. Let's train our children properly, and then let's stand by them in case there's mistakes. We mitigate as much as we can. But to punish, to threaten, to be cruel, painful, spanking, slapping, whatever. Pain only lasts as long as the pain lasts. After that, they're going to climb out the window, and they're going to take their penis and the vagina with them most of the time. And if we haven't put inside their heads what the responsibility to society, financially, morally, spiritually, is going to have an impact on them, then, you know, we failed. We failed. We passed on our sickness to the next generation. So if you and I have hang-ups about sex and anatomy and being naked appropriately, etc., we need to read books. We need to talk to people. We need to get on the internet. We need to become informed of when the egg comes out of the ovary and comes down, and why does the little girl have her period, and boys, why do they have 120 million sperms ejaculated when the girl only has one egg? If we don't educate ourselves, we can't pass that on to anybody. And we're just going to sit like a couple of dummies in front of our kids, and when they come home and, Dad, I got a girl pregnant and I think I'm going to have to drop out and get a job, or Mom, I'm 3 months pregnant and I don't know if I can stay in school, a lot of that's going to be our fault. Not all of it. Not all of it. They bring to the table their genetics, their anatomy, and their sexual makeup. But we are to mold, I believe, good habits. I think we're to mold wise decisions. Not feelings. Oh, my heart goes out. I like the guy with the beard and the rings in his nose. Say, well, what does your brain say to you? Well, it says he's kind of irresponsible. That's what you need to hear. So, enjoy the kids, enjoy their sexuality, don't be threatened by it. My little 5-year-old, I remember she was saying to me, Dad, would you take a bath with me? And I had to start saying to her, honey, no, you're at an age where you need some privacy now, and you're growing up. There are those key moments and maturation moments of children where, as adults, we have to say, well, this is appropriate, that's appropriate. And with our teenagers, they may want to run through the house in their underwear or whatever. And I just simply say, honey, you're a little woman. Women don't run around in their underwear. That's just not appropriate, and you dress privately, and you lock the door to the bathrooms and shut your doors for your showers. Don't advertise your body, or you're going to be giving signals off to other people that may take advantage of you. So in closing, love the kids, train the kids, talk to them about sex, get our own sexuality in order. And we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We've done things that we can honestly say to our kids, gee, you know, I got a little bit involved there, and I'm sorry. I don't want you to have the bad feelings that I have. Be normal. We are their voices and the backdrops of their life. They're looking to us for information. If we don't offer it, or we don't open that door up and make it available or easy to access us, they're going to get it from school and their friends who are, you know, coming into school with some real perverted, I hate that word, but